Welcome to Streaming with Two Dudes, a podcast about all things streaming. Each episode, we break down some of the best series, songs, movies, and shows. I'm one dude, Parker.
I'm the other dude, Jeff.
And dudes, this month our theme is time manipulation. And this episode, we are talking about Palm Springs. But first, Jeff, what else have you been streaming?
All right, I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. We don't do this very often. I'm actually gonna cover music this time.
Yeah.
And you probably know this about me. I'm sure we've discussed it at some point, but I'm a huge NF fan. I don't know how familiar you are with him and his music.
I don't think I knew this, actually. I don't think I didn't know this information, but keep going. Proceed.
Well, I mean, obviously, you know I'm a big Swiftie.
Oh, yeah, that's not new information. But the NF thing is definitely new
I
information.
will say this. I get more hyped when NF releases new music than I do like Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh.
That's how much I love NF. Just I don't know. I just connect with him on a deeper level. Have you listened to a lot of his stuff?
I can't say that I've listened to a lot of it, but probably like maybe 4 or 5 songs total, maybe
Okay.
that I'm aware of course. That's that I'm aware of, but yeah.
Yeah, he dropped a new song. I think it was Thursday or Friday at noon,
Mhm.
called Hope, which is also the name of his new album, which comes out in April. Might be my favorite song and music video from him. I might even venture to say probably one of my favorite music videos ever. It's just I highly recommend anybody to kind of go back to the beginning. Of course, it takes some time to listen to all his music, but even if you just go back and watch like the ones that he's done music videos for,
Yeah.
because him and his team, they do high quality music videos, but just the lyrics, the emotion, the passion. He's telling the story all throughout his different albums, and this most recent video was really cool because it's very nostalgic because he goes back and picks out themes and stuff from his previous videos and his previous albums, and there's all these, I mean, Easter eggs galore if you like that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And you're just like, oh, he's using that out of the lyrics, he said from this song back in 2, 3, 4 years ago. And it's called Hope. Go and watch it. It's great.
Okay.
I don't know, do you like watching like reaction videos on YouTube?
No, not really. That's not my thing for sure.
I didn't think it was mine either. My son got me on that with NF, and I've gotten now where I really enjoy it. Anytime like NF releases a new song, I'll go, and literally reaction videos started coming out within 30 minutes after the song dropped.
Uh-huh.
And I really enjoy going back watching the reaction videos, and you'll notice a lot of people who've just kind of opened their eyes to NF over the last year or two, and they're just like his biggest fans now. And they've gone back to try to catch up because I mean his early stuff was great too. But I had a chance to see him live in concert as well. That was awesome. But he's a big mental health advocate. A lot of his songs and his messages, a lot of stuff dealing with mental health. And so yeah, can't wait till his new album. I'm sure I'll talk about it again in a couple of months because I'm sure I'll be listening to that quite a while when he finally drops that one. But
all right,
anyway,
cool.
We don't talk about music very much. I actually had a different movie picked out that I was going to talk about, but since NF dropped a new song, that took precedent. So now we will hear what you've been streaming.
And I mean, actually, I'm always listening to music, so it's kind of hard. I say, like we put that in the introduction, and I don't feel like I talk about music hardly at all. But I mean, I do love music, so I mean, yeah, it's great when we do get to talk about music on here. So yeah, thanks for that. But actually, I have been streaming the latest season of a show that I've actually never even watched before. I just decided to check out the third season of Love Is Blind, and dude, that show is unhinged. It is wild. I kind of knew the concept before I watched it, but I didn't realize, like, I guess the full season and what it would consist of. And man, I don't even know how this is legal, honestly. Like, yeah, it's it's very, very interesting, and I don't know, have you checked this out at all? Have you seen any of the show at all?
I
It's
mean,
on Netflix.
yeah, I mean, I've heard and read about it, but
Mhm.
I have not watched it. What is the premise behind it?
So, basically, these people wanna fall in love and get married based on, just, getting to know somebody, so they kind of get to know people behind these little walls that are, like, paper thin or whatever, or, like so, like, they can talk to each other, but they can't see each other, and, basically, they wind up proposing by the end of, like, the first few episodes, like, everybody kind of pairs up and they kind of, date each other too as well, like, to get each to know, like, which one they're kind of wanting to be with, and, then they wind up pairing up as fiancés, which is where it gets really crazy, and then they both, get used to each other, and they also bring them together at certain points, and so it's just it's just drama. It's super it's totally something that, like, I would not normally feel like I would watch, but apparently, like, it's totally my thing, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch the other 2 seasons. But yeah, Love Is Blind on Netflix is what I've been streaming this past week. It's crazy.
Now, did you ever watch, it may still air, I don't know. We only watched, like, maybe the first season or 2, but Married at First Sight?
I don't think I've seen that one either.
Okay, it might have even been like a Lifetime show or something like that, but, I mean, the premise may be possibly even crazier. They I guess it's set up like a dating type thing to where that they match 2 people together,
Uh-huh.
only you agree that whoever you're matched with, you get married. So it's like they do it backwards. Like your first meeting, you're getting married,
Oh my gosh.
and then they
That's
show the couple getting to know each other. So crazy concept. And like I said, we ended up watching the first season, maybe 2, and I mean, it was, it was entertaining. We hadn't watched shows like that in a long time. I mean, we had our moments where we got into Bachelor maybe for a couple of seasons or Bachelorette, and like I said, we watched this. Like I said, this was years ago, but we haven't really watched anything like that in a long time. Yeah,
interesting, yeah.
that could be addictive though.
That's crazy. Alright, so this week we watched, the Hulu original Palm Springs for our streaming original. Jeff, what can you tell me about Palm Springs?
All right, I got some a little bit of tidbit, but don't forget to write down what you think my score is going to be. But
Alright, alright,
but
alright,
don't say it out loud.
alright.
I'm feeling pretty confident. I think we'll both beat last week's performance because we were both off by a full point, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was only a 5-point scale. That's still
Yeah,
like a 20%.
yeah.
But I'm thinking we'll both probably get a lot. I'm thinking I might nail yours this week. If not, I think I'll get pretty close. But anyway, so I
Alright.
got mine written down. We'll reveal that later. Um, so yeah, Palm Springs, a Hulu original, starring Andy Samberg, which Parker's a huge fan of. And I can't do a podcast without mispronouncing somebody's name. So this next, the girl that played Sarah, I might butcher the name, but is it Kristen Milioti? Milioti?
I'd have to look that up. Actually, I don't think I've seen her name written out, but go ahead.
I'm gonna say Milioti. I apologize to Kristen if that is not correct, but I'm not really familiar with her. This might be the first time I've gotten acquainted with her. But obviously, Adam Sandberg, his roots go back to Saturday Night Live. A lot of people probably know him by Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I haven't personally watched that show, but I know it was very popular for a number of my friends, a lot of people. And more recently, a movie we covered, he was lended his voice to the Rescue Rangers, Chip and Dale.
Mhm.
Uh, Kristen Ilm, who played Sarah, How I Met Your Mother, The Wolf of Wall Street, A to Z TV show, the Fargo TV show, a couple other big names. J.K. Simmons, who played Roy he's been in a ton of stuff,
Yeah.
as well as Peter Gallagher, who played a much smaller role, Howard, who was I guess Sarah and Tala father. Tala, of course, played by Camila Mendez, who we've
Yep.
covered a couple of times with is it Do Revenge? Is that the name
Yeah,
of the
she was in
movie?
Do Revenge. Yep.
Obviously Riverdale. So she's a popular Netflix fixture here in the last few years.
Yep.
Um,
It's kind of crazy. I think this might be the first. Is this the first movie where we've had returning like actors and actresses?
hmm. Well, I mean, technically, Maya Hawke was in Fear Street,
Yeah, that's
um,
true. That's true. And Cobra Kai.
and Do Revenge.
Oh yeah,
So,
you're right. You're right. That's the second.
so,
So
so definitely not the first.
she's an
It probably
alumni.
it hadn't happened often. But the first interesting thing is this movie was very, very close to not qualifying for our monthly theme of time travel or time manipulation.
Oh yeah.
They originally had this idea of the character Niles um, kind of being on this journey, trying to find purpose. But the original intent was it was going to be more of kind of a absurdist comedic version of Leaving Las Vegas, where he goes out to Palm Springs to kill himself and he just can't do it.
Oh.
That was the original intent, but they just didn't feel like it was working. Um, so that's kind of when it eventually kind of evolved into what we saw it as, which was more of a time loop,
Hmm.
which I think worked out well for it. Um, but Andy Samberg did admit that there were multiple endings written and even shot, and they actually had private screenings for friends and family for all the different versions to get their opinions on it. And I guess the one they settled on, he said, "Well, might not be perfect." He said everyone seemed to like it, so that was the version we went with. As far as the movie itself, it holds the record. Now, keep in mind this is as of probably 2000, so I don't know if any of these records have been broke in the last
2000,
couple of years. I meant
2020.
2020. Wow, yeah, 2020. My
Little
bad.
dyslexia.
Yeah. It held the record for the biggest sale of a film at the Sundance Film Festival.
Hmm. I remember
At,
that.
wow, oddly specific, $17,500,000 and 69 cents. Of course, they had to throw in the 69 there.
Nice. Nice.
Actually, it said it beat the previous record by 69 cents. So obviously some intentionality there by somebody.
That's classic. Okay. That's great.
Uh,
I didn't know
another
that.
another record at the time was it broke the record for most viewed Hulu released in its first weekend.
I believe that.
So that's pretty impressive. Um, Now, Andy Samberg did reference like Groundhog Day, Edge of
Hmm.
Tomorrow, Happy Death Day. He said because of films like that, they went into it knowing that the audience would already be familiar with the specifics, so they were able to avoid the usual setup time that you have to spend with these type of movies. He says
Right.
he did give credit there. This movie was actually shot over a period of 21 days, so very quick. Um, like of other movies during the time, because of COVID-19, it was released directly to Hulu. There was a simultaneous release to select drive-ins on the same day, and I forgot all about that. How drive-in theaters kind of made a comeback
Yeah.
during that time since regular movie theaters had closed. You got any drive-ins near you?
Yeah, we do actually. Yeah. I actually want to go visit. I haven't been there yet, but I'm trying to go there this summer as soon as it starts to warm up. So yeah.
Yeah. Oddly enough, there's only a handful in the Carolinas, but they're all within like an hour of us. So it's been a few years since we've been, and we actually, a new one opened up like maybe just 3 years ago, which is unheard of in the drive-in movie. You don't see new ones opening up anymore. But this guy decided to leave his corporate job and he's done actually extremely well with it. So it's always a cool experience to go back to something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, despite it being called Palm Springs, it was not actually filmed in Palm Springs. It was filmed mainly in Palmdale and Santa Clarita, California. A little Easter egg was that circles were placed throughout the film to symbolize the time loop. Whether it was Niles' boxers having polka dots on them, Sarah's bra has little circles. They both use water donuts in one scene. Um, there's all kinds of little things in there that they purposely put circles in as, I guess, symbolic. Also, in January of 2021, not 2001, Hulu debuted a commentary track for this film, the first time they had ever done that. So obviously, this movie, as far as Hulu was concerned, was must have been a pretty big hit.
Huh.
So they never actually specify how long Niles had been stuck in the loop, but they suggest a sweet spot of somewhere between 40 years and 40 million. However, in an interview, the writer, Andy Ciara, is quoted as saying that Niles was stuck in the time loop for over 40 years. So, for whatever that's worth. As far as Andy Samberg is concerned, the scene where Niles is suddenly shot with an arrow was the moment in which he was reading the script and he was thought, ooh, I might have to do this film. That was the one scene that stuck out to him early on. Now, here's a little throwback to something we've discussed previously. Let's see if you can pick up on it. The song that plays during the scene where Niles and Sarah attempt to escape the time loop by blowing up the cave, at the very moment they travel through, was a song called Cloud Busting.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Samberg had it written into the script prior to approval and personally wrote a letter to the artist behind the song to secure the rights for its use in the film. Now, you're a music nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Who was Cloud Busting by?
I missed that one. I didn't catch it.
All right, I'm gonna give you a really good hint. She's of course, a little older now. She was more popular in the 80s, and she had a song absolutely blow up. Not this one. Recently, just not a song that did very well on the original release, but another Netflix original made it blow up.
Yeah, all right. Well, the dead air is gonna kill the podcast. So this is where you can't make me just sit here and try to think of something on air like this. Go ahead,
My bad. Kate Bush.
Oh yeah.
Is the artist. Obviously, Running Up That Hill blew up thanks to Stranger Things, and she got a nice little extra unexpected paycheck from that song doing so well.
Right.
So early on, it's kind of one of those things you probably don't really pick up on until a little after the fact, but Niles does offer up some clues. I guess this is only if you didn't know the movie was a time loop, but he does offer up some clues that he's stuck in a loop as far as, his comment in the pool about today being like yesterday, his casual attire at the reception, his speech. You're just kind of starting to think, wow, this guy's living like he ain't got no consequences.
Right.
Which, was the case indeed.
I liked his little dance when he was like kind of, approaching Sarah. That was pretty great.
Oh, yeah. So they initially shot the scene with Niles running naked through the desert with Samberg's stunt double.
Mm-hmm.
But then they shot it with Andy Samberg himself, just in case it was too obviously not him. But Andy laughed. My butt was far funnier, so he went with mine instead of the stunt double. There's an older lady in the movie. I'm just gonna call her Nana. I can't pronounce the last name, or I don't know if that's her first name. But she kind of makes some comments here and there that makes you think she's probably in a time loop as well.
Yeah.
I've seen more weddings in my life than you can imagine.
Yeah.
I think even Andy's character kind of makes the kind of like, oh, you might be surprised.
Right.
Obviously, you've seen a number of them being in his time loop. And she also mentions to Sarah, I suppose you'll be going soon on the day that she and Niles attempt to leave the loop.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of makes you wonder, like, how many characters in their world are also stuck in a time loop?
Right.
So towards the end of the movie, before meeting up with Sarah to escape the loop, Niles is at the bar and he throws his glass on the floor while telling the bartender he's an adult. This is a reference to the very popular Saturday Night Live Lonely Island skit, Throw It on the Ground, in which Andy Samberg stars.
Yeah.
I'm not as familiar with the Saturday Night Live stuff. I mean, I've seen clips here and there, so I don't know if that means anything to you, but
I loved him on Saturday Night Live, and I loved his stuff when he was doing with Lonely Island. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like when he did like I'm on a boat. Do you remember that song? Like
I
that was part of his group.
I'd probably have to hear it because
Okay.
like I said, I know I've seen a number of his stuff, just like seeing videos and clips here and there. I know he
Yeah.
did the one with Justin Timberlake.
Oh yeah, Dick in a Box.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic. That one.
So he's
Um, but yeah.
no, another thing towards the end of the film, which I think most people probably caught on to this. So I don't know if it's necessarily an interesting tip, but um, Sarah can be seen leaving a voice message, and turns out she was leaving it for Roy, giving him all the details on how he too can escape the loop. She also apologizes to Roy in the message, which we can only assume that was for hitting him with the police cruiser. Guessing
Yep.
that's why she apologized to him. But and actually, the family at the very end of the movie that comes back home to find them in their pool
Mhm,
was actually the producer Becky Sloviter and
mhm.
her husband and their kids, and they actually drove for quite some time in order to do just that one shot for less than a minute of screen time.
That's
So
hilarious.
they made it a point. Now I'll devote a couple little things for Kristen Milioti, if that
Mhm.
is how you pronounce it. She admitted she has never seen Groundhog Day and has not seen it since either. So she was not familiar with that movie at all.
Oh, that's crazy.
One thing she did mention is she memorized a multi-page monologue of quantum physics. She said
Did
it was
she even get
five.
to use that?
It was 5 pages long and took her days to learn, and she was
Mhm.
stunned to see that the whole thing was cut.
Mm,
Not a single
that is
second
so
made it
crazy.
to the final version. The thing is, you that probably happens a lot. You just never hear about it or read about it.
Right.
How
Yeah.
I know I've read some stuff where I mean, there's some stuff they spent like tons of their budget on a certain scene and never even makes the cut. But I guess that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
That's all I've got for now. If I think of any of the other stuff as you're doing your little recap, I will throw it in there.
All right. Well, we're gonna head into the recap since you said recap. And this is for those of you that are new, this is where we or where I try to recap the movie completely from memory, from start to finish. Jeff will grade me like a little schoolboy, and he is my teacher by giving me an A plus is like perfect. I didn't miss anything important, got all the details. F got it all wrong. I was completely out of order and I had no idea what was going on with the movie. So he'll grade me somewhere in between there. So I'm going to try to recap the 2020 film Palm Springs. It starts out, we see that it is Palm Springs. It's sunny, it's a beautiful day. Uh, there is a wedding happening, and oh, first we see that there's an earthquake, and then we see this wedding that's going on. We notice that this girl, Sarah, she's kind of having a little trouble at the wedding. She's kind of having, arguments with her family, disagreements. She seems kind of out of sorts. And she goes to give like she's her sister's actually the one that's getting married, and she is the maid of honor. And so it's her turn to give the speech, and she's kind of, stunned. So this guy played by Andy Samberg, his name is Niles. He stands up and starts doing the speech. Um, and we were actually introduced to him a little bit earlier, but I forgot to mention that. So he gives the speech, kind of saves her, face a little bit, and you can tell that she kind of appreciates that. Later on, he starts to do this little dance, and he's like avoiding all these people on the dance floor, saving them, pushing chairs underneath people that are falling so they can sit down. Pretty much pulling off all these crazy maneuvers, and kind of gets Sarah to, start to, you know, ge be into him. He takes her down to this beach, and they're making out. They're about to, get down and dirty when all of a sudden Niles is shot in the shoulder with an arrow and takes off running. He's being hunted down by this guy named Roy, and they end up in this cave. And while Niles is crawling into the cave that's glowing, Sarah comes up and she sees that Niles is crawling and is injured. Niles tells her to stop. She doesn't stop. She comes in and they both wake up and they start the day over again. And Sarah is, of course, upset by this. She she confronts Niles about it, and he basically tells her about what's going on. It's a time loop. You might as well accept it. There's nothing we can do about it. She doesn't accept it at first. She both goes to sleep a bunch of times. She tries to leave the state. She kills herself a whole bunch of times. Then she finally does start to accept it, and they start to have fun with their days. Um and she asks like, hey, like during in one of their conversations, she's like, hey, have you ever slept with me? And he's like, no, I don't think so. And so they start to have like all these wild scenarios that were really hilarious, including like dance scenes, and then they had one at the wedding where there was like a bomb involved, and that that was hilarious. And then one day they are get pulled over by Roy, who is impersonating a police officer, and they she winds up pinning him in between the two cars, and they get arrested, and she finds out that Niles has slept with her thousands of times, and she decides that she is going to completely learn quantum physics and figure out a way out. So she
which I like the way they handled that, because they don't let you in on that part
yeah,
to begin with. So to me, that was a nice little twist, because all you do is see her
yeah,
disappear.
yeah. So she just disappears for a while. Unbeknownst to us and Niles is kind of, looking for her. He's fallen in love with her. And he keeps looking for her, can't find out. He finds out that she had actually slept with the groom to be, her sister's fiance, the night before the wedding, and that she has been waking up to him every day. So he
Did you see that
finally
coming?
I did not.
I didn't
No.
either.
I did not. Not the first time I watched it. I remember the first time watching it being pretty shocked by that. I was like, "Oh, okay. Was not expecting that." Um, but
Which, I
yeah.
mean, it made sense as far
Mhm.
as the characters and the storyline, but yeah, it just wasn't a scenario I'd pictured. I was like, wow,
Right.
okay.
Right. And then like you said, we cut back to her. Well, Niles wakes up one day and Sarah is there at his bed. She tells him that she's found a way out. Then we cut back and we found out, her storyline, what has happened all this time that she's been, gone. And she's been learning quantum physics. She's got it down. She thinks she's figured out a way. She's done this experiment with a goat. The goat has disappeared. And so she is ready to try to do this on herself, and she wants Niles to come with her. Niles is against it. He wants her to stay there with him so that they can just enjoy life forever and ever and just enjoy it together. She doesn't want this. She's going to go no matter what. And so they separate here. Later on, Niles realizes that he has made a mistake, and so he goes chasing after her. He makes it to her just in time, and they blow up in the cave, and we see them in the pool the next day their at the family's house that you mentioned. They have came back home, and we realize that they have, you know, made it out of their time loop. And then we cut to a scene where Roy is um he said he had gotten a phone call. He says that he taps um Niles on the shoulder at the wedding, and he's like, "Hey, I got a message from your girlfriend. Did you do you really think that's gonna work?" And Niles does not recognize him. And so Roy, knowing that the plan did work, gets a little emotional and orders a bunch of alcohol. The end.
Very well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Um,
I didn't realize it till the end, but I did totally forget the scene where Roy and Niles did have like a heart to heart there before.
it's funny you brought that up because I was just getting ready to say, it's like, I might have given you an A plus, but I was like, you did leave out that part, which is kind of important,
Well,
but
I did say the end before I said it, so it doesn't count as I can't once I've turned in the test, I can't add anything to it. So do
but
grade me off of that based on that.
but yeah, still a solid A, which this one of those movies, I mean, it's a recap can go 20 seconds or 20 minutes, depending on
Yeah, when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be like hard to recap without just saying like pretty much like a 2 seconds of like what's going on." But yeah, it was I don't know, I liked it. Um, Jeff, what did you think about this movie? We're gonna give it what out of what? I guess it's your turn to rank. Out of what ranking system are we going with this week?
let's see here. I wish I would think about these more ahead of time to be more clever, and I don't do clever good on the spot. So
And you expect me to.
but we're just going to do out of 5 arrows. Since,
All right.
that was one of the funnier scenes of him getting just completely random and just catches you off guard.
Right. And they were super funny, like because you would forget about it sometimes, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, just an arrow would just it's just I did love the little cat and mouse game that him and Roy had. But yeah, out of out of 5 arrows, how many will you give this with one being the lowest? Well, I guess zero being the lowest and five being the highest. And why?
All right, so I will start off with this. I did enjoy it more than last week's. Even though last week's was probably kind of more up my alley, since
Mm.
we talked about the word romantical. Um, as a and the interesting thing about this one is it could be very difficult, especially when you have a classic like Groundhog's Day,
Mhm.
and you're basically using this not the exact same storyline, but the same theme and the same idea, and it can be very difficult to do that.
Right.
And I felt like they did it really well, and in some ways, you could even argue in some elements they may have did a little bit better. So I gave this one a 3.5.
Oh, that's exactly what I
Okay.
thought. All right, yes, I got you right on. Okay,
So
perfect.
we'll see how close I get to yours.
All right.
But no, I enjoyed the movie. This Kristen Milioti, loved her. Like I said, it's
Mhm.
my first introduction to her. The chemistry between her and Adam Sandberg, I thought was really good. Um,
Totally agree.
I love how even in their own sick, twisted humor, they mixed in a good bit of romantical elements to it,
Yeah.
and you see the sweet moments where they both, even though, like, even outside of the time loop, they had their own issues.
Mhm.
And you add time loop to that. I mean, they were in a dark place, but for them to still hit that phase where they wake up each morning excited,
Yeah.
because they know they get to hang out with the other person, despite life in general, like being really bad.
Yeah.
Uh, just that was enough to kind of brighten each day. So their chemistry was spot on. The humor was really good in it. Um, like I said, the challenge of doing a movie like this, knowing that you got movies like Groundhog Day and other movies that have tackled the same thing, and to not kind of just be tossed aside as, hey, it's been there, done that, move along. You didn't bring anything new or exciting to the table. They did.
Mhm.
And I thought they did it really well. So, so yeah, very strong 3.5. Like I said, it was really enjoyed the movie. And I know you're a big fan of Andy Samberg. I thought he did really well. But Kristen really impressed me. I wasn't sure what to expect from her because I wasn't familiar with her, and doesn't look like she's done a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I think she's involved a lot in producing and a lot of other stuff as well as opposed to just acting. So, um, but I mean, obviously, it has some other big names in it that kind of signed on to do the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I was impressed. It was one of those where I thought it could go either way. I thought I'm able to give this a 0 or maybe even as high as a 4 or something, on 4.5. But so it definitely fell on the more favorable side of it.
Well,
So
good, good, good.
all right, so
All right.
let's hear yours.
Well, like you said, I love Andy Samberg, so I won't go into that too much. But yeah, I've enjoyed him um quite a bit of pretty much everything he's done that I can really think of off the top of my head. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hot Rod, but that movie is hilarious. It's a little bit dumber of a comedy than this, but it's still pretty funny. Um, but I do the like Groundhog's Day is one of my favorite movies of all time. It could be because I was born on Groundhog's Day. I don't know, but love that movie. Um, watch it every year on my birthday. Like I've said that before, and so yeah, and as far as romantical comedies go, I'm not a big fan of them. Most of the time, I find them pretty corny. It's always like, the guy's trying to get the girl, the girl's trying to get the guy. One of them really doesn't want the other one eventually, after persistence, but these are the kind of romantic comedies that I actually really enjoy where people don't really realize they're falling in love until they do. Um, so like this is the kind that like the love kind of sneaks up on them. So I don't mind it when it sneaks up on me in the movie. I like that. Um, and like you said, this was very, very creative, and I loved a lot of the jokes and how they did things. Like you're gonna have like the same. I feel like anybody that's stuck in a time loop is gonna go through the same, you know, kind of a thing where they like the progression of denial, anger, and then they just have fun with it and kill themselves for a little while, then have fun with it, and then just kind of live, get bored with it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I love this movie. So I am going to give this a solid 4.5.
Dang
Um
it, Parker.
what do you think?
I wrestled so hard between a 4 and a 4.5. Because I knew last week, you gave a 3.5. And I'm like, well, I know he's going to like this one better than that one. So it's going to be at least a 4.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but man, 4.5's a really high score. Does he like it that much? Or
I really
uh,
do, man. I've seen this like because I watched this. This is one of the few films that we have covered that I've seen like multiple times since it's been released, and of course, it's only been out for 3 years. Well, probably not even 3 full years at this point, but it's been out. Came out in 2020, and I've probably seen it like 3 times before we even went to go cover this podcast. And I still watched it twice before. I still gave it the 2-time watch treatment that um, I usually give these. So I love it. I still love it. Um, I laughed the fifth time I watched it just as much as I watched it laughed the first time. Yeah, I love this movie. It's great. I hope that they do more, things like this, not necessarily just like this, but um yeah, I like the Lonely Islands crew, the films that they do, and I hope they keep making movies because I enjoy most of them.
well, last week combined, we were off by 2 points. We definitely did a lot better.
Yeah.
This week combined only half a point, but man, I was so close to doing 4.5 because I kept telling myself He loves these time loop movies. He loves Andy Samberg. So if he's going to give a 4.5, this would be the one he'll do it on. And I was like, I don't know. So I just like, I'll probably give it a 4, but so close.
All right. So Jeff, who was your dude or dud of the week this week?
All right. I decided to stay positive. I'm staying with the dude and I'm giving it to Sarah, especially the actress in general. I love what she brought to the part. Like I said, uh, I love seeing certain actors or actresses for the first time, getting that first impression. And she really impressed me. I like I said, the chemistry between her and Andy Samberg, just the way because I imagine that was a little bit of a difficult role. I mean, her character was all over the place from start to finish, and I thought she handled all the different elements of that character extremely well. And another thing that you have to consider is, especially in a time loop movie like this, um, I imagine most people that watch movies know this, but the movie is rarely, hardly ever, never, ever filmed or shot in order,
Yeah.
which is even more difficult when you're dealing with a time loop type of movie because the emotions and the characters' feelings are all over the place in this type of movie. So
Yeah.
they had to be very delicate in how they handled that. And I thought Andy and Kristen did a great job. So props to her for being my first introduction to her. I thought she was great. I'd love to see her do more stuff and venture out, maybe do some more acting. I thought she was great. So yeah, she's definitely my dude. What about you? Are you sticking with the dude or are you going back to the dark side and picking out a dud?
I am going to pick out a dud. I think her name
Mm.
was Misty, um,
Uh,
Niall's girlfriend.
yeah, 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 yeah.
She was just a really horrible human being, and I'm not sure why he was with her. I mean, I know that because we didn't really get to see who he was, as a person before he got stuck in the time loop. So I'm really curious. I mean, I guess we kind of did at the end. We got like a little glimpse of him, but I mean, you couldn't really tell who he was. But
Wait,
um,
you have a dog?
yeah, exactly. Well, I was talking about the part where he got approached by Roy at the end, because like that was the original Niles that
Yeah.
didn't have to go through the time loop. Um, but yeah, like she was just a total a total bitch. And she was, I don't know, just her whole attitude. I hate people like that. So yeah, she is my dud of the week.
Yeah, probably a
Miss,
good choice if you're gonna pick a dub. Probably either her or, the groom.
yeah,
Probably.
the groom was a good one too.
Yeah, I mean, him and, Misty probably shoulda got together and
Yeah,
and Tyler found somebody better.
for sure, for sure. All right, Jeff. So I know you got one for me. What is the random question of the week?
Random question of the week is, what is something that everybody looks stupid doing?
I'm gonna say everybody looks stupid uh when they're like looking at themselves in the mirror, like in their car rear view, in their car mirror. I think everybody looks stupid doing that. I don't know. What about you? What do you think?
Like picking out nose hairs or
Well,
something
yeah,
like
just
that?
whatever they're doing. I don't know. It's always funny. Everybody always does the same like face where they like stretch down, like it's almost like a frown, but they're like, and they're always checking. They're like making the funniest faces to like look in whatever random spots they're trying to look at on their face. It's always interesting. But yeah, what you got?
So we kind of went on similar lines, I guess, here, but this is one of those questions that I didn't want to think about a lot. So I was like, you know what? I just like, what is the first thing that pops in my head? And for some reason, I thought it was funny. Like, if you could take like just several pictures of a person in the process of sneezing,
Yeah. That's true.
I would love to see like a compilation of several different people, taking, shots of when they're sneezing and pick out the funniest because those pictures are gonna look horrible. I don't care who you are. Everybody looks stupid when they sneeze. It's you can't sneeze without looking stupid.
True, true, true. Or like nobody can like I guess if you're trying to fart without making a sound, like no one ever looks cool doing that. Like everybody looks stupid if they're trying to fart without making a sound.
Did
Uh,
you see the TikTok where it's like a big old ape? He's just like casually eating a red pepper,
uh-uh.
and then all of a sudden he farts, and he just has this look on his face like
No,
that
I
wasn't
haven't. I
that
haven't
wasn't
really been on
supposed.
TikTok too much lately.
It's like that wasn't supposed to happen. He thought it was gonna be a silent one, and it kind of like
That's funny. That's funny.
uh,
All right. Well, to finish up the time loop, we got our listener suggestion, and the winner, it was the first one that was mentioned multiple times was Bill and Ted's, and I looked for so there's three Bill and Ted films, and luckily they didn't really specify which Bill and Ted film, but I looked for Excellent Adventure, which is unfortunately not, but the new Bill and Ted, which is Face the Music, is on Amazon Prime. So that is the one we will be doing for next week, which is Bill and Ted Face the Music,
that's
Amazon Prime.
actually one I have not seen.
Yeah, it's a new one. I think that one was also released in 2020. So yeah, we will be watching Bill and Ted Face the Music. So watch
Yeah,
that with us, please.
and
And
actually,
we'll be covering that next week.
before you said that, I forgot they did another one actually.
Yeah, I've actually have seen this one as well, but I've only seen this one once, which um not for any particular reason, whether or not I liked it or not. I just haven't seen it multiple times like I have everything else. So or like I had Palm Springs anyways. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Are you a big Bill and Ted fan? Like did you like the first two?
To be honest with you, I'm trying to remember if I even saw the second one.
That was
I
the one where they died and they wound up battling death and they on the games and
Yeah,
they went to hell for a little bit and they
still
got
not
back
ringing
out.
which
Okay.
details of the first one wouldn't necessarily ring a bell to me, but I know I watched the first one probably at least a couple of times.
Yeah.
Which I was obviously a lot younger when the first one came out, so I remember liking it. I wouldn't say I was maybe super fanatical over it, um, but yeah, I mean, I remember liking the first one, but good chance I didn't see the second one either. To be honest with you.
All right. Well, I mean, I think you'll be okay with it not having watched the other ones. I think you might like a few, the cameos might make more sense. But um I'll just say, I mean, if you give it a like yeah. Hopefully it won't I can't remember honestly. I'm gonna just whatever I say, it just really doesn't matter because I can't remember if it's imperative or not to have seen the first two, but we're not ranking this as a trilogy, we're ranking this as a film. So we'll watch it as a standalone film and go from there.
I'm anxious to see like Keanu Reeves because he's changed so much since the Bill
Yeah,
and Ted movies,
yeah,
personally and professionally. So I remember being surprised when I heard they were making this new one, like you said,
yeah.
it was 2020 or whenever it was, and I was like, wow, that should be interesting. Him being in a role like that.
Yeah, and him and Alex Winter who played Bill, they actually, they actually stayed friends this whole time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah. Jeff, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, I think I'm all good. Nothing really else on my mind. How about you?
No, man. I just want to say thank you and thanks to everybody for listening. If you would like to support us, you can do so by giving us a 5-star review. You know, that really does help us get up the charts. You can just give us anything, write down anything there. You can also spread the word by helping tell a friend, tell family, whoever. Scribble our names on the back of a bus seat. Whatever. And if you'd like to help us out financially, we do have a Patreon. We actually have some tiers up there now. So if you would like to, you can, the links down there and to our socials are down in the show notes. Thanks again. And remember, if someone tells you that all of your ancestors are in a cave, it's probably not a good idea to go in there.
Peace out.